We are reading from the Yogasutras, and this is our Yoga class number 19. We are going to begin with the second chapter of the book Yoga. This chapter is called the Sadhana Pada, or this is the chapter which will teach us how to practice concentration and meditation. Let us remember that the Yoga Sutras has 4 chapters. They are called the padas. Pada means a part. The first chapter or first pada is called the Samadhi Pada, which has got 51 aphorisms that we have completed. The second chapter is called Sadhana Pada with 55 aphorisms. And the third pada or chapter is called Vibhuti Pada. It has also 55 aphorisms. And the last one is called the Kaivalya Pada, which has 34 sutras. So 51, 55, 55 and 34. So what are the topics discussed in these 3 padas or chapters? In the first chapter that we have just finished reading, the topic is what is yoga or what is samadhi. The second chapter will deal with the practice of that samadhi. The third chapter continues with some discussions from the second chapter and then speaks of what benefits the practices of samadhi would bring to us, to a yogi. Then the last or 4th chapter will inform us about the ultimate samadhi experiences. After completing his commentary on the definition of samadhi, the divine commentator Bhagavan Vyasa says, Uddishtaha samahita chittasya yogaha katham vyuthita chittaha api yoga yukta syat iti. In Sanskrit, the word iti means the end quote, a pause or a full stop. Here, iti means a question mark. Vyasa asks this question on behalf of the students of yoga like us. The meaning of that part of that commentary, that katham vyuthita chittaha api yoga yuktaha syat. In the first chapter, Maharshi Patanjali has described the nature of the experience of a yogi, whose mind has ceased to exist as a mind as such, with all its impurities, and who has achieved the final samadhi, the asampragnata samadhi. In the second chapter, Patanjali has connected that knowledge to our day-to-day practical life on this earth. He has made the theory of yoga applied here. What a science! That is why Swami Vivekananda has said that yoga is the science of religion. Let me repeat the question in Vyasa's own words. He asked, Katham means how. Yoga yukta syat. Will a yogi be able to maintain the resonance and feeling of meditation vyuthita chittaha api, even when his or her mind has come out of samadhi. So the question is, how will a yogi be able to remain in the resonance and feeling of meditation even when his mind or her mind has come out of samadhi? Could you see the overall practicality of this science? You will hear many of us say, when I am in the company of many noble-minded people in a spiritual retreat, it is easy to keep the mind uplifted at a higher level. Such an uplifted state lingers for some days after the retreats or gatherings, but then it dies out slowly. It becomes fainter and fainter until it does not matter for me anymore. This is the truth. It becomes fainter and fainter until it does not matter for me anymore. This condition of falling back into the old habits happens due to lack of willpower. We term it as helplessness. This has been very expressively mentioned by Arjuna in the Gita. He confesses it to Sri Krishna, one of the rare few of the practical teachers of humanity. Arjuna confesses saying, Anichannapi, even though I myself do not want to go back to walk on the old path, still this thing happens. That means this helplessness is our own creation. Then we do not have any excuse to blame others in this matter. This blaming others for our sufferings is inherent in weak characters. That is why one who is a therapist or analyst needs to hear both sides. This second chapter will show us how gaining willpower is a learnable skill. It may be somehow ingrained in the samskaras or karma of many. Still, it is a learnable skill. You do not need to consult a management expert. We need to learn ourselves how we can still maintain the same experience of the peace or of samadhi, even after we have come out of it. Even after we come out of it. Even when we re-engage ourselves in our day-to-day mundane activities. Even when we are working in our offices or workplaces. Swami Ranganathanandaji of the Ramakrishna order of hallowed memory used to say, one may not be 100% yogi in the beginning. One does not think of being one such initially. You can be a 2% yogi, but try to maintain this 2% all through the 24 hours and 7 days. This is what is called yoga. This is what is called yoga. An art to make the theoretical knowledge applied in our life uniformly. We have to keep the word uniformly in mind. Then you can slowly add more percentage to that. You improved from being 2% to 10% to 20% and so on. What the great Vyasa has said here is actually a mantra, a bit long mantra. In Sanskrit it is that question, Katham vyutthuta chittaha api yoga yuktaha syat iti. how will the mind of a yogi remain in yoga even after the mind has come out of meditation? Katham vyuthita chittaha api yoga yukta syaditi. This is a great warning for us. How? That was the question. The answer is given in the following first sutra, first aphorism of the second chapter. How to maintain the same meditative resonances even when we come out of that, of meditation. Once again, let us keep it in mind that practical yoga is a learnable skill, and it also at the same time helps us to grow our willpower. Please remember that this is a learnable skill provided we want to learn it to improve our condition both here and hereafter. The second word we have to remember always is uniformly. The same flow of the current of meditativeness even when you come out of it to be maintained. Uniformity means that when one achieves even a small percent of this yoga, one should practice to maintain it in 24/7. Uniformity means conformity or continuity. Vyasa stressed this point because most of us, particularly the grown-ups, need to practice it. The target is such a group and not any particular person. It is a group. Generally, our span of concentration is very short. Even when we are able to sit with the work continuously for a long time, it is not any proof of our meditative concentration. Actually speaking, an assignment for long duration creates a pressure, demanding repetition of many bits of the same type of concentration. Then we seem to behave, but that actually proves that we are sitting for a long time with fluctuating bits of concentration of the same type. The problem is that this concentration on material things or assignments does not continue uniformly everywhere and in respect of every work or action. Practically speaking, this has a limited area of application. This is confirmed when the same you or we are asked to do a short assignment or some small pieces of different works. You begin with less concentration and end with no concentration. As a result, we finish the works noisily, leaving behind the marks of a mind which severely lacks in mindfulness. But fortunately though, afterwards, anybody can predict who the performers were. Hence, Patanjali did not advise that in the beginning, we should practice concentration with material assignments and thereby learn the art of concentration. And then we use this art of concentration in meditation. See the difference. He did not ask us to train ourselves in concentration with the help of material assignments and then use that practice of concentration in meditation. That would be a reverse process, like putting the cart before the horse. Clear? Hence the Yogasutras and also all the spiritual processes of practicing mindfulness teach us to learn this art by practicing meditation first and then using the same art in respect of all material concentrations. because meditative concentration is concerned with the awakening of the whole spiritual being in us. The same meditative mind is available thereafter for any work, anywhere. Swami Vivekananda says, teach yourself, teach everyone his or her real nature. Call upon the sleeping soul and see how it awakes. Power will come, glory will come, goodness will come, purity will come, and everything that is excellent will come when the sleeping soul is roused to self-conscious activity. Meditative concentration leads to self-conscious activity, not just simple concentrated action. This is the implied meaning of the word uniformity. Clear? So, practicing concentration through meditation and then applying that concentration in our workplaces when we come out of meditation. Sri Krishna defines yoga in the Gita as yogaha karmasu kaushalam. Yoga is dexterity or efficiency in performing actions. Efficiency surely includes mindfulness. The mind has tremendous ability to process data in the shortest possible time, which even the fastest computers in today's world cannot do, will not be able to do. Hence, a concentrated mind can perform actions efficiently in respect of the time it takes and the quality it produces. Thus, it is clear that we are still in the kindergarten. That is the reason why Patanjali wants to begin with the things that are necessary to be taught in the kindergarten of consciousness, concentration. The only difference is that he is dealing with hardened minds which are not easily malleable or flexible. And that is the reason he had to teach the theory first and then the practice next. Theory means that is the Samadhipada, the first chapter, and then the practice. The study is now becoming so interesting because we are going to enter the workshop of yoga. Workshop of yoga. The yoga in practice. It does include the yoga asanas or postures, which seems to be the meaning of yoga throughout the world. But that is a very small part of yoga practices. The Samadhipada deals with the science of yoga, that is the first chapter, and the Sadhanapada, the second chapter, deals with its technology. Right? Sadhana means practice. The first sutra or the aphorism, first aphorism of this second chapter is Tapaswadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga. What is Kriya Yoga? Austerity or strictness, study, and surrendering the fruits of work to God. These are called Kriya Yoga. Please mark the word strictness in place of austerity. The definition and composition of Kriya Yoga is austerity or strictness, number 1, study, number 2, and surrendering the fruit of works to God is number 3. The Kriya Yoga of the Yogasutras is being mentioned here. 3 things are necessary to practice Kriya Yoga. Tapas or strictness in spiritual practices. strictness in spiritual practices. Uniformity will come if we are strict about following the disciplines. Swadhyaya, the second one, is study of the scriptures, and Ishvara pranidhanani, working without selfish interest while keeping the mind on God. These are the three. So what is Kriya Yoga? Kriya means work or action. Anything that we do. Anything that we do is called Kriya. But it cannot be called yoga. Anything that we do cannot be called yoga. That can be called Kriya or work, action. So it has to be converted into a yoga by the art that we have practiced in meditation, the art of concentration. Whatever action or work helps us to retain the little advancement in yoga, suppose as I said 2%, is called Kriya or action. To retain means not to allow to fade out, not to allow to weaken and finally to be lost. In short, Kriya Yoga means the yoga in the form of actions in our life to protect our yogic achievements. What type of life? Practical day-to-day life that we live. What does this life include in its scope? Now comes the revelation. The life inside and the life outside of our meditation or samadhi, both lives come into consideration. Well, we have to remember that Patanjali calls our small effort of suppose even 2% of concentration a samadhi. That is a great encouragement. This we have learned when we discussed the second aphorism, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, in the first chapter. Stopping means Nirodha means stopping. Bhagavan Vyasa pointed out that Nirodha or stopping does not mean Sarva Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Sarva means all. This Sarva word is not there. Hence, even a small first step that is taken towards the goal is also called a samadhi or a yoga. Clear? Kriya Yoga is concerned with both parts of our practical life, the inside and the outside of samadhi or meditation. Both. What do we understand from this revelation? Inside of yoga is samadhi or meditation, and outside of yoga is called Kriya Yoga. This is yoga in action and not action in yoga. That includes what we do while meditating and what we should do while not meditating, so that we do not lose whatever we have gained in the meditation. Clear? Hence, Kriya Yoga is Karma Yoga. Do you see the grand combination between our meditative life and life outside meditation? That is what is called Karma Yoga. Swami Vivekananda has said that life is an uninterrupted meditation. A young student once asked me, Swami, you advised us to practice awareness of God or the self throughout the day when we are awake. But it is impossible. See, I am a program developer. It is impossible for me to be aware of something else other than my computer programming. I replied, you are right. It is true that when you are doing computer programming, it is not possible to think of anything else other than that work. That is true. It is your honest confession and I also accept it. But then, my dear, it should also be true for you that it will be impossible for you to think of other things than God when you are meditating. Right? Does it happen like that? No. Why not? Because of the problem that you are not able to erase the difference between the inside and the outside of meditation. Can you see the problem? The Upanishad says, that is the Kathopanishad, Mrityosa mrityumapnoti yahya naneva pashyati. One who sees a difference here will suffer from repeated births and deaths. Here means in this world, in this life. Because neha nanasti kinchana, there is no manifoldness in this life. It is one life, it is one all through. There is no inside and no outside. The Kriya Yoga helps us to remove this difference between the inside and the outside of spiritual life. It does not promise to give you any magic formula. That is why it is an applied science. Swami Vivekananda used the imagery or example of the chariot and horses from the Kathopanishad to stress the need and importance of Kriya Yoga. He says, the organs are the horses, the mind is the rein or the leash, the intellect is the chariot, the soul is the rider, and the body, the intellect is the charioteer, the soul is the rider, and the body is the chariot, Ratham. The master of the household, the king or the self of man, is sitting in this chariot. If the horses are very strong and do not obey the rein, if the charioteer, the intellect, does not know how to control the horses, then the chariot will come to grief. But if the organs, the horses, are well controlled, and if the rein, the mind, is well held in the hands of the charioteer, the intellect, the chariot reaches the goal. Now let us elaborate on the three ways that we have discussed. They are meant for removing the interruptions in, number one, tapaha, strictness. In our practices, strictness in our practices plus the practice of awareness together are called physical Kriya Yoga. Tapa means austerity or strictness. That is what is called physical Kriya Yoga. With this background of the horses example, Swamiji explains the three components of Kriya Yoga. He says, tapas or strictness is compared with holding the rein or leash firmly while guiding the body and the organs, not letting them do anything they like, but keeping them both under proper protection. The practice of non-injury is not action but inaction. Still, it can be converted to tapas or austerities. One needs to refrain from such actions by the practice of austerity or tapas. Number two, swadhyaya or repetition of the mantras and also study of the scriptures are called Kriya Yoga of the speech. The earlier one was a physical Kriya Yoga, and this is a Kriya Yoga of speech. That is called Swadhyaya. Not only study of the scriptures but also repetition of mantras, japa, etc. Swami Vivekananda clarified this meaning of study. He said, It is not the study of novels or storybooks, but study of those works which teach the liberation of the soul. Then again, this study does not mean controversial studies at all. Books are infinite in number and time is short. Therefore, the secret of knowledge is to take what is essential. Take that and try to live up to it. Sri Ramakrishna says that the scriptures are a mixture of sand and sugar. Be like an ant and take out sugar from the mixture. Study not only means reading or hearing the scriptural texts or spiritual texts, but it also means mananam or contemplation. And the third one is Ishvara Pranidhana or remembering God and doing selfless work. That is called mental Kriya Yoga. So one is physical Kriya Yoga, second one is Kriya Yoga of the speech, and the third one is Kriya Yoga of the mind. Ishvara Pranidhana, remembering God. You may ask, why do we have to offer the result of our actions, the result of our labor to God or to somebody else for that matter? Why should we do that? The answer is, you are following a spiritual path which has God as your destination. Then you are destined to reach God at the end. But you are planning to go there with all your luggage. Then two questions can be asked. If you are coming to God thinking that God is your all in life, then there is no space for your baggage of karma in that scheme. You do not bring your luggage there. And the second question is, God is that karma phala vidhata, the distributor of our karmas, both good and bad. He does not mismanage with your karmas, with our karmas, whether good or bad. He is the safekeeper of our actions or karmas. Storehouse. Bhagavan Vyasa says God is the ultimate manager of all our actions. Hence, you are not actually offering it to Him. But if you look closely into the concept, then you will find that you are not actually donating the outcome of your actions to God. You are only leaving the outcome with God. Just leaving the outcome with God as He is the safekeeper. Leaving the outcome with God is also not an easy habit. Hence, Bhagavan Vyasa advises the yogis to offer the whole karma or action itself to God. Kriya itself to God. Kriya Yoga. So offer the whole action to God. Ishvara Pranidhana. Vyasa says, Sarva Kriyanam, of all the parts of action and all actions, should be deposited to God. That is the safe deposit vault. You will be doing it, and ultimately your karma and action will be producing their results for you only. They will be yours only. Hence, when you leave the action itself to God, the whole action itself to God, then the results are automatically offered to God. In any case, ultimately it is God who does the assessment of the results of our actions. It is therefore advisable to let God know about our actions from the beginning of our works. That is called spiritual practice. This is called practice of awareness. This is called Ishvara Pranidhana. This reduces our burden of stress and finally makes us less and less selfish. You also know that you don't lose anything. This is the way of producing mental purification in Karma Yoga. And in Patanjali Yoga, this is the third discipline as Manasika, mental Kriya Yoga. The Kriya Yoga disciplines that are practiced through mental actions. Mentally you offer. That's all. Then Patanjali tells us what is the need, why should of Kriya Yoga, or why should we practice this Kriya Yoga. He says that Samadhi bhavanartha klesha tanukaranarthascha. This is meant for the practice of Samadhi and minimizing the painful abstractions. This aphorism is telling us why the Kriya Yoga is recommended. There are many kinds of recommendations by yoga about the disciplines of yogic life. But here only 3 are recommended and highlighted. Actually, the first discipline called tapas or austerity or physical Kriya Yoga includes the preliminaries of yogic practices like yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, which we will study later. The last one too includes the samadhis, Ishvara Pranidhana. I believe it is for the sake of our easy understanding that the number has been reduced to 3. We can remember them. Tapaswadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga. That is the whole of the practice of Samadhi. We have learned that the main purpose of the Yogasutras is to teach us a way to live a practically possible meditative life. Practically possible. Even when we are not meditating in the usual sense of the term. That is what is the first purpose of this aphorism. Samadhi bhavanartha, for the propagation or increase of samadhi or meditation. And then second purpose is meant for reducing the kleshas, the painful and difficult to remove vrittis. The kleshas are parts of our practical life. Kleshas mean the painful vrittis, obstructions. In the 5th aphorism of the first chapter that we have just finished reading, it is said that the vrittis are of 5 types. Vrittaya panchatayah, klishta, aklishta. Each one of which has 2 usages. Klishta means painful, aklishta and not painful. Enjoyable and miserable. Vrittaya panchataya klishta aklishta. Klishta means the vrittis which are affected by wrong usages of them. The vrittis are by themselves not bad, not creating pain for us, but we use them wrongly. The word klesha or pain has this derivative form called klishta, means which is painful because of its use, wrong use. Klesha to klishta, like pain to painful. Clear? This Kriya Yoga is helping us to practice in our life the disciplines that would produce the painful usages, that would reduce the painful usages of the vrittis and will produce the blissful usages or the happy usages of the vrittis. We have to remember one thing here, and that is the first chapter or Samadhi Pada made us familiar with the definitions of samadhis and details of things connected with that. There we have been introduced to 2 methods that will work for attaining yoga or samadhi. The aphorism is Abhyasa Vairagyabhyam Tarnirodha. We remember that. Abhyasa Vairagyabhyam Tarnirodha. By the practice and by detachment, this samadhi can be achieved. That we have read. That is the first recommendation. And then we learnt 7 alternatives in the first chapter itself. Actually speaking, it speaks of one discipline. Abhyasa and Vairagya, they speak of one discipline. That is called Abhyasa, practice, or repetition of the same thing time and time again. This repetition has two things: going towards the goal and going away from all the things that are not the goal, or all the things that holds us back from going to the goal. Practice is like that. So one practice only. It has two aspects: going to and going away from. Going towards the goal and going away from all those things what are not the goal. Sri Ramakrishna said, if you want to go to the east, then start walking towards the east. This one directional approach helps us to perform both the things, to achieve both the things. Going towards means going away from. As we go towards the east, we actually go away from the west automatically. You don't need to practice it separately. In this current aphorism, we are learning Kriya Yoga as a practical process that teaches us these two things together. The process has been divided in two parts: Abhyasa, practice of our growth in Samadhi, and Vairagya, the practice to weaken the painful attachments. Attachments are obstructions. The purpose of Kriya Yoga, as we have already seen, is to reduce the effects of the kleshas, mean painful obstructions, and then enabling or deepening samadhi, samadhi bhavanartha. The next sutra will introduce the kleshas, the painful obstructions. It is natural that any obstruction to anything is a painful thing. It is painful because it stands in our way in achieving our goals, and also it is difficult to remove. That is why it is painful. Owing to labeling an obstruction as painful, we get another insight into the obstacles. They are painful. That means, number one, it is difficult to remove them. That is one thing we have told. And the second most important thing is, it is also painful for us to think that we have to say goodbye to our long-standing companions. We have to say goodbye to all those things which we found to be giving us security. We have nurtured them with care, thinking that they are ingredients of our defense system, defense mechanism. It is not wrong to say that we need anger, dislike, ego, etc. to protect us. That is how we have been trained to think. Well, every human being is a thinking being. We can use our thinking for both malign or benign purposes. Suppose we say that we need anger. The yoga does not ask us to throw away the whole of anger energy of the Rajoguna. Yoga does not force us to get rid of our defense system. What it actually says is that we need to reorient. We have three ways to use an emotion, suppose or anger. We can show anger actively to retaliate. That's what most of us do. Number two, we can show anger in a controlled manner in order to give us time to understand the obstruction. And number three, we may ignore the call for showing anger, getting enraged. We may ignore that call. The following illustration is very useful. Suppose there is the question of someone going without food. We can look at it from three different viewpoints. Number one, people go hungry because of want of food. People go hungry because of want of food. There is no food. Number two, people go hungry when they are in hunger strike. And number three, people go hungry when they are fasting. See the difference? The first two examples are about forced hunger. The last one is voluntary. Well, we have to know that the obstacles are common for any action, any undertaking. But we should know how to use their energy for our spiritual benefit. This may initially seem to be a painful suggestion for us. Why seem to be? This is really painful. We know that. Hence it is called klesha or painful obstruction. Let us remember why the Yogasutras introduced these kleshas or painful obstructions. It is just to remember the connection with meditation and not to lose sight of it in all the subsequent practical courses of actions. We wanted to maintain the same level of achievements that we gain in our meditation, in and through our day-to-day living. Maharishi Patanjali is instructing us how to use the day-to-day living with the same meditative spirit. Then he introduced this idea of the kleshas or painful obstructions. Now we are going to search for the cause of our kleshas or pains. Clear? What are the kleshas? Then Patanjali introduces the next aphorism or sutra, that is aphorism number 3 in the second chapter. Avidya asmita raga dvesha aviniveshaha pancha kleshaha. They are klesha. Avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha and abhinivesha. The pain-bearing obstructions are, kleshas are, avidya means ignorance, asmita means egoism, raga attachment, dvesha aversion or detachment, and abhinivesha means clinging to perishable life. Abhinivesha means clinging to perishable life. These are the 5 pains, the 5-fold tie that binds us down to our worldly life. We suffer from their effects. We use the word they in respect of the obstacles. Actually, these have no standing or definitions or personality of their own, that we can count them separately from and independent of the mind. They are nothing but the same mind in different modifications. Then we go to the next aphorism, which explains what is this avidya. The first one was avidya. Of these 5, we read avidya means ignorance. So Patanjali says, avidya kshetra uttaresham prasupta tanu vichinna udaranam. Among these, ignorance, avidya, is the well fertilized, hence very productive field for all these that follow, egoism, etc. Asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha. That follow means that are born out of it. All these 4 later things, egoism, asmita, raga, attachment, dvesha, aversion or detachment, and abhinivesha, clinging to this perishable life. These are all products of this ignorance. So therefore ignorance is the cause of all these products. Sometimes we may miss them, maybe being unaware of their existence. So Patanjali says that prasupta tanu vichinna udaranam, prasupta tanu vichinna and udara, but they are there, to be sure, in their different conditions. They are either prasupta means sleeping, or tanu means weakened, or vichinna means not in use now, or udaranam, udara means active, means expanded. You only know one of them when it is active. Avidya means the source of all the following four kleshas or pain-bearing obstacles. Avidya means our ignorance of our real nature. That is very simple. We think that we are the body. It is discovered even by all the Indian theistic philosophies or theologies that we are not the perishable body-mind complex. Everyone accepts that. Those theologies or religions or philosophies who believe in the continuance of the perishable physical body after death are mercilessly treated by modern scientific findings, giving lie to their die-hard wrong ideas. The yoga and other philosophies, in fact all the dualistic religions in the East, laugh at the idea of the perishable physical body continuing after our death. We all know what happens to our physical body when we die. Either we bury it or burn it. Same thing. Same effect. Swami Vivekananda says of these 5 painful obstacles, ignorance is the cause and the other 4 following effects. It is the only cause of all our misery. What else can make us miserable? The nature of the soul is eternal and blissful. What can make it sorrowful except ignorance, hallucination or delusion? Ignorance is the cause of the later 4 of its own modifications. Egoism, attachment means likes, aversion means dislikes, and clinging to the perishable life means engagement with the perishable life, thinking that it will provide us with support, security. These impressions are nothing but different states of the same avidya. What is this avidya or ignorance? It is the ignorance about our real nature. These 4 modifications are there in us, either prasupta, sleeping, or tanu, weakened, or vichinna, not in use, or udara, active. What is prasupta or dormant? The direct meaning is sleeping. That means the 4 modifications of the ignorance called egoism, attachment, aversion, clinging to life, etc. are there but are not awake. So you may wrongly think that they are not there. Sleeping means the pains have taken a very subtle form with an ability to germinate when the proper situation arises. But this subtle state is what is slowly achieved by the exercises of Kriya Yoga. When the pain-giving use of the vrittis are reduced and the mind is guided to concentrate on its goal, then one achieves the understanding of the goal. As the practice grows, as the Kriya Yoga grows, it reduces in the equal measure the power of germination of the samskaras or the impressions lying hidden in our vrittis. Finally, the impressions of those kleshas or painful use of the vrittis are burnt. This is the goal of Kriya Yoga. The difference between the dormant klesha and the kleshas which are burnt is that the dormant kleshas will reappear any day, but the burnt ones are gone forever. I hope we remember the word vritti. Vritti. A vritti is the smallest basic unit of our thoughts. So, prasupta means they are lying dormant in us. And the work of Kriya Yoga is to attack them or to help the mind to reduce them in that state itself. When they are unprepared, that time itself, the Kriya Yoga, the disciplines will be taught later on, will help us to reduce them at that very point when they are sleeping. So, prasupta. So, that is the first part. Then tanu vichchinna udaranam. We will take up the later parts about this tanu vichchinna and udara in our next class. We have now reached the end of our time, so I thank you very much for your participation. We close here. Today's discussions will close here with a chanting of Om once. Om